Happy Sunday, happy Easter. So, today I'm going to talk to you about your variable names. Your variable names are very much a statistical tool, if you will, because the software is set up to respond to the names in a way. Um, for one, the names are basically trigger certain statistical output, right? So if you want to look at, say, um, the age of something, and you put age in your, what do you call that thing? In your descriptive, then the system is going to look for that variable age and the corresponding values for that column and give you output, right? So, generally speaking, when you import a file into SPSS from Excel, you should really get savvy with it in terms of the column names, the variable names. Some people would use the variable names that are coming out of SurveyMonkey or Qualtrics. And a lot of times those variable names are by default, and they really represent the labels associated with the variable name. So for example, here we have gender, and it says, what does it say? The gender is a person, right? So that's the variable name for that column. So it would be helpful if we kept it as simple as possible, only because when we go to analyze this and you have to look for that variable name, it may not be very intuitive. You might have to stop and think about, okay, is this the name? And then if you have to do some kind of calculation with a long name variable, it's gonna be kind of messy, right? Just imagine using some long 26, 50 character string that's just, it's cumbersome. So what I recommend you do is make sure that the names in the file are simplistic. So what I mean by that is probably no longer than, say, 7 characters. And then also, too, you shouldn't have any spaces between the names, the variable names. There should be no spaces in between the variable name. So what I mean by that is, for example, if you have, let's see, the age of a person, there are spaces there, right? Between the and age, right? So we want to get rid of that. And I know that SPSS will automatically, it used to give us underscores, but for in place of spaces, so we could keep it moving and just keep doing our analysis. But the thing about it is, you're better off just making it a more simplistic name. Anyway, the variable names never make it to your manuscript. So as long as you know what it is, then you're fine. You can always make it more descriptive in the value, not the value label, the label description, right? I think there's a column in your variable view that had where you could put a description of the variable. Try doing that, okay? Because you have these long names, it can be very distracting. Okay, the other thing I want to talk to you about with names is if you know that you have a construct is basically a variable that is the combination of other items in your survey. So usually it's either the sum or the average of those items in your survey. If you know that a particular construct is associated with certain questions in your survey, you may go ahead and just give the variable names, a generic name. that will signal to you that it's part of a construct. So if you look at Q1, Q2, and Q3, if that was part of a construct of the same construct, then you could just indicate, note somewhere that anything with a Q is this particular construct, right? So I like to keep things simple. When I do analysis, I like to say, okay, let me keep this as simple as possible and just save myself as much time as possible, right? And a lot of times, and I don't know how things are now, but there was a point in time where you could not analyze a variable if the variable name was a certain length. You know what I mean? So I would just stay away from these long variable names, keep things simple as possible. And if you can streamline it in terms of the construct names, right? So that's what I wanted to share with you on this Easter Sunday. Happy Easter and enjoy the rest of your week.